The big one was when Rory was going to have sex.
That was painful for me.
We still tell Dan that Rory hasn't had sex yet.
Gilmore Girls has a pattern where sex, especially for young women, usually comes from shame, punishment, or some kind of emotional fallout. It often becomes a turning point, and usually not in a good way. In this video, I want to look at how Gilmore Girls handle storylines around sex and storylines around pregnancy. I want to say up front that I love Gilmore Girls. I wouldn't be making this many videos about it if I didn't love it, but loving a show doesn't mean pretending it has no blind spots. This is more about zooming out and asking what worldview the show is writing from, because when the same kinds of storylines repeat, they start to reveal a pattern. Welcome to another episode of Pexposure. I'm Pecky, and I like to psychoanalyze myself through the characters I watch in film and TV, using my background in psychology and communication. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of my episodes. Also, I'm a new channel and subscribing really helps me out. The first example that comes to mind is Paris.
I am not going to Harvard. I had sex, but I'm not going to Harvard. Okay.
We find out that Paris has sex with Jamie and doesn't get into Harvard in the same episode. Technically, the show doesn't say those two things are actually connected, but the show very much alludes to the fact that Paris thinks she didn't get into Harvard because she's had sex.
She's never had sex. She'll probably go to Harvard. She's a shoo-in. Pack your chastity belt, Gilmore. You're going to Harvard.
That's such an interesting choice because Paris isn't doing anything that's shocking. She's in a committed relationship with her boyfriend. She's around 17, almost 18, and I don't think she's being reckless in the way the show sometimes frames other characters as reckless. But she beats herself up so much for it after she doesn't get into Harvard.
I can't believe I slept with Jamie. I'm a slut.
And I understand that Paris is spiraling. She tends to react to things very strongly. She puts impossible pressure on herself, and she's been working toward Harvard her entire life. So when she doesn't get in, she needs something to blame. But the fact that sex is a thing she blames says a lot.
After all the trouble this sex thing has caused me, I had better have been good.
And the show makes it even weirder if we remember earlier when Lorelai is eavesdropping on Paris and Rory. When Lorelai hears that Paris had sex and Rory doesn't, her reaction is,
I've got the good kid.
I know that moment is supposed to be this private mom moment where Lorelai is relieved that Rory is still the innocent one, but that line says so much about the show's worldview. Because in this instance, Rory being the good kid is directly connected to Rory not having sex. So even if the show wants us to know Paris is being irrational, and even if the scene is supposed to be comedic or darkly comedic, the writing still reinforces the same idea underneath it. Paris had sex and she didn't get into Harvard. Rory didn't have sex and she got into every school she applied to.
Looks like Paris was right.
Apparently, you're the biggest virgin in the world.
I think that's where the show's bias becomes obvious. It's not that Paris thinks sex is a punishment. It's that the show lets other characters behave in ways that validate that belief, even if the scene is played for comedy. From the beginning, sex in Gilmore Girls is treated as a dividing line. There are girls who have done it, and the girls who haven't. And the girls who haven't are still seen as better, more innocent, and easier to be proud of. Now, let's move on to Rory, whose first time is with Dean and he's married.
God, Lindsay!
As I was putting this video together, and as you may have noticed, I realized it might be helpful to bring in a few behind-the-scenes interviews, more specifically from the Gilmore Girls 15-year reunion at the ATX Festival. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Let me know if you have. It's a great panel. I really love it. I think this gives a lot of context for how the show viewed Rory and how it viewed teenage sexuality more broadly. The language she uses is pretty revealing. She basically frames those girls as one thing and Rory as something separate.
At the time, everybody who was under 18 on television, all the characters were little whores. I'm all for a bunch of little whores running around, but Not my girl.
The most revealing part to me is the contrast she makes between Rory and the other girls on television. There's this idea that other teenage girls having sex can be dismissed or judged, but Rory is different. And with that in mind, it makes sense that sex on Gilmore Girls often feels like something that has to be controlled and carefully explained. There's a very specific bias underneath it.
Your first time is just not the way your first time was supposed to be.
Oh, and how was my first time supposed to be?
For so much of the show, Rory is the good kid. She's the daughter Lorelai can be proud of because she's supposedly not repeating Lorelai's mistakes. So when Rory sleeps with Dean, sex becomes the moment where Rory stops being Rory in the way everyone wants her to be. It feels so jarring because the show spent years building Rory up as careful, responsible, and innocent. But this is written as Rory falling off the pedestal. And Dean doesn't carry that same symbolic shame. Dean is the one who's married. He's the one who tells Rory that his marriage is basically over when it clearly isn't. But Rory becomes the emotional center of the wrongdoing. And listen, Rory deserves the criticism here. I'm not saying what she did wasn't wrong, but I also think the writing deserves criticism for how it frames her first time. Amy Sherman-Palladino has talked about the network asking when Rory was finally going to have sex, and from the way she describes it, it does sound like there was some pressure to move Rory into that stage of her life. I'm only going to include a couple of short snippets from this panel, but I'll link the full thing below if you want to watch it. I do think the whole conversation gives really interesting context for how they were thinking about Rory.
I wanted it to be Dean, and I wanted them to not be together. A lot of people were like, what's up with her not sleeping with boys?
If the network was asking when Rory was going to have sex and the writers already knew they wanted that moment to be with Dean, then this storyline starts to feel like the result of a few competing pressures at once. They were trying to move Rory into adulthood, make the moment feel emotionally significant, and have it be with someone who mattered to her. But because Dean was already married, the storyline also turns Rory's first time into something messy, morally loaded, and immediately punishable. I do have a whole video on what led Rory to sleep with Dean, so I won't go too deep into that here, but for this video, what matters is how her first time is framed.
Mama, please.
You're going to have to do it with this boy, Lane. You're just going to have to do it. Hopefully, if you're lucky like me, you'll only have to do it once.
Lane grows up in a household where dating and desire are treated like things she has to hide. She spends so much of her life sneaking around and trying to create a version of herself that belongs to her. And because of the values instilled in her, Lane waits until marriage to have sex.
Oh, well, I have to wait till I get married.
What?
So you would think that when Lane finally does get married, the show might let sex become part of her experiencing adulthood on her own terms. It didn't need to be perfect. Awkward first times happen. But with Lane, it's that she has sex once, hates it,
So sex with Zach was bad?
Unbelievably bad.
and immediately gets pregnant with twins.
Sex sucks so bad. Sex sucks worse than I thought.
Lane spends the entire show trying to break out of a life where her choices are controlled for her. Then, right when she starts to experience freedom, the story gives her one terrible sexual experience and moves her almost immediately into motherhood. And what makes it even more frustrating is that Lane waited. She followed the rules she was taught. She waited until marriage, and the show still makes sex feel like something that costs her. So with Paris, sex becomes something to be ashamed of. With Rory, sex becomes the moment the good girl image cracks. And with Lane, even doing everything right still doesn't protect her from consequences. No matter how different these girls are, sex is almost never treated as something neutral. It's treated as something that changes them, punishes them, or takes something away.
She's gonna get pregnant.
No, she's not.
She's gonna ruin everything just like you ruined everything.
No, she's not. No, she's not.
Pregnancy in Gilmore Girls is usually framed as a consequence, an obstacle, or a plot device that reshapes everyone else's story. Also, thank you to Mittens and Socks for pointing out that basically every major pregnancy in Gilmore Girls is unplanned. I didn't catch that until you mentioned it, but once you see it, it's kind of hard to unsee. The show is literally built on Lorelai getting pregnant at 16. The entire premise of the show is built around the idea that pregnancy completely interrupted Lorelai's original life path. It changed her relationship with her parents, what her future was supposed to look like, and it forced her to grow up quickly and build a life outside the world she was born into. It's a meaningful story, but it also sets up one of the show's biggest patterns. Pregnancy is often the thing that redirects a woman's life before she fully gets to choose where it's going.
Sherry is pregnant, and when Christopher found out, he went back to her, and that mother is the reason.
Sherry's pregnancy is interesting because it's not really about Sherry at all. It's about Christopher and Lorelai. Right when it seems like Lorelai and Christopher might finally have their moment, Sherry gets pregnant, and suddenly Christopher is pulled back into his family structure because he doesn't want to make the same mistakes twice. But Sherry's pregnancy becomes a thing that blocks Lorelai's romantic fantasy. It's mostly used as a thing that makes Christopher unavailable again. That pregnancy becomes what it means for everyone else, not Sherry. One of the most infuriating situations in Gilmore Girls is in season 7, when Sookie gets pregnant after Jackson lies about getting a vasectomy. And the show plays it like a sitcom conflict, but it's actually a massive betrayal. Sookie thought Jackson had gotten a vasectomy, she believed they had made a decision about their family and their future, and then she finds out he didn't do it, didn't tell her, and now she's pregnant again. Sookie did tell him that he's gonna get one, like no questions asked, like,
You're getting a vasectomy.
but if he didn't want to do it, he should have at least told her that. But maybe that's a whole other video. Gilmore Girls doesn't really sit in how serious that is. It does take Sookie a few episodes to actually get over it, but I also don't like how Lorelai brushes off her frustration and focuses more on how wonderful it is to have a newborn.
But you know, babies are more than diapers, right? No, Sookie.
And that's such a clear example of the show introducing something emotionally huge, but softening it because the comedy can't handle the reality of what it just wrote.
Well, I guess he didn't really want to have a vasectomy.
Well, then tell me.
I agree.
Ah!
I know.
God, it makes me so mad. I could talk about Lanigan here, but I kind of said what I needed to before. Spoiler alert, in the revival, Rory gets pregnant.
Mom,
Yeah.
I'm pregnant.
What?
That final reveal is treated like this dramatic full circle moment. Lorelai got pregnant young, and now Rory is pregnant too. The writers wanted that ending because it's supposed to tie the show back to its beginning. It suggests that mothers and daughters repeat patterns, even when they think they're living different lives. Rory's pregnancy becomes the final statement of the series, even though we don't really get to sit with what it means for Rory herself. The pregnancy is there to make a point about the story coming full circle. I wanted to add this clip in here because I was curious to hear Amy Sherman-Palladino talk about the final 4 words.
Then we had to find out what the hell happened in season 7 to make sure it even worked. If it hadn't, we still would have done these 4 because there were new stories to tell.
It sounds like the final 4 words were meant to leave the story open in a way that could have continued Gilmore Girls in some form. Because the final 4 words don't really close the story, they leave us with another beginning. And whether or not that was originally meant to lead into maybe like another series after Gilmore Girls, it does make Rory's pregnancy feel like the start of another cycle. So honestly, this could be another example of pregnancy being used as a plot device in the show. That's just my speculation. Let me know what you think. Maybe this is very obvious and I haven't gotten it until now. Gilmore Girls can write about motherhood with so much love, but it also keeps using pregnancy as a thing that changes a woman's life before she gets to fully choose it. If I say that I like to psychoanalyze myself through the characters I watch, then I also have to be aware of the biases inside the shows I'm analyzing myself through, because people write from their own experiences. Their beliefs and assumptions tend to seep into the stories they tell, often without them even realizing it. When you watch a show as a kid or teenager, you're not always thinking, this is one writer's perspective. Sometimes you just take it as truth. And I definitely picked up some weird messaging from Gilmore Girls when I was younger. The original series was made in a different time, but I also don't think just saying, oh, it was made in a different time explains everything, especially when some of these ideas show up again in the revival. which came out in 2016. At a certain point, it starts to feel like the show is revealing its own beliefs. Sometimes comfort shows shape us more because we don't have our guard up when we're watching them. Gilmore Girls is cozy, it feels safe, and because of that, some of its messagings can slip in quietly. I originally planned to talk about body image in this video, but then I realized that that deserves its own conversation. I also want to discuss how the show talked about therapy, because I did get a few comments about that. So if you want to see all of that, make sure you subscribe. But for now, did any of these patterns around sex and pregnancy stand out to you? Because I'm really curious if other people picked up on some of these messages too. Also, make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel for more videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in another video soon. Bye!